G'day guys, Mac with the Outer Circle, and today I want to do a very quick review on the Liber Astartes and Liber Hereticus, as well as having a quick look at book 1 for some comparison. So, these books, they have quite an interesting bit going on inside them. I'm not a big fan of the current layout of these books, as you're going to see. In fact, I think they're full of issues right now with how they've been set up and written. Not so much in the rules themselves, they have issues, yes, and I'll point a couple out, but overall, my problem is entirely with the contents itself. So, as you go into the book, the content is laid out in such a way. You get army lists, then you go into force organization, detachments, it'll show you how to do your force allocation, so what you can take in the list, onto the allies chart, and how the allies chart actually plays out. Who's a swarm, battle brother, that kind of thing. It'll also go into some basic information about different warlord traits and rights of war and the fact you have them. After that, it'll move on into the actual rules themselves for the units, starting with HQs and then working its way along through elites, troops, fast attack, heavy support. Once it crosses over the threshold of Lords of War, it then moves into additional rules, in this case, rights of war. And after you've gone through the various rights of war that it presents here, which are universal rights of war, which any of these legions may use, in theory, it will then move on to looking at other things, such as the Legion Consularis, which is the next sort of set of pages across. And this is kind of an issue, but I'll come back and touch on it later. But it is good to see that there is actually a wide variety of stuff in here. After the Consularis, it'll move on, you'll go to Legion Special Rules. After you've gone through Legion Special Rules, you'll move on to the Legion Ranged War Gear. After the Legiones Astartes Ranged War Gear, it'll then move forward a couple of pages into the Legiones Astartes Close Combat War Gear, and then into their various other war gear, such as armor, special Vox relays, Cognus Signums, Legio Vexilias, augury scanners, all that kind of thing. And then it culminates about halfway through the book in the actual Legiones Astartes themselves. It'll go into the Dark Angels and then on from there with the other loyalist legions that are available to you. So once you come out the other side here, you get into the first of the layout quirks, as we're going to call them. So, for example, Praetor. All the rules that you want for the Praetor are located in this one area. Same thing here with the Legion Centurion. All your console upgrades for it are located in the same part of the book. This is a very good thing in the 1.0 book, and is something completely different in the 2.0 book. You also see that Legion Special Rules and information is actually put next to the relevant unit, which is not something you really see in 2.0. When you go into the war gear as well, it just flows smoothly from one thing straight into another. As soon as you get to the last unit, it's straight into war gear. Very, very useful. So, here's an example here of a unit out of Horus Heresy Black Book number 1. This is the Legion Typhon Heavy Siege Tank, and of course the Typhon is armed with the Dreadhammer Siege Cannon, and the stats are right there on the page. It also has the Crushing Weight Special Rule, which is also on the same page. But when you look at 2.0 here, it doesn't tell you where the weapon is located, you have to find that for yourself, or the Crushing Weight Special Rule. Well, I know where the rule is located, so now I'm going to go try and find it. This isn't edited or anything like that, this is the time it takes me, a person who knows where roughly in this book I have to look to find the rule. And here you go. I tracked down the rule, and it turns out it's about 30 odd pages away from the actual unit entry. So I'm looking at the unit and I'm going, where is this rule? Where is this rule? And this is how many pages I have to go through to find this one special rule for the unit. So if I'm looking up this special rule in a hurry, it's kind of a pain in the butt. It's dragging out my game, and although you can memorize this stuff and write on a cheat sheet, it is very annoying. So I mentioned earlier how it's a real pain in the ass in 2.0 trying to assign character stuff. So here the Praetor, all the different stats of Praetor and Centurion is in the one area. It's great, that's what you want. Now look at 2.0. If I'm looking for the Legion Praetor, well, here's the power armor version for a start, not even all the variants. I then have to cycle through the entire army list in order to come across the Rites of War for said character. It's not right beside the entry for the model, so I'm constantly flicking back and forth between the two pages. Same thing here with the Legion Centurions. So I move a couple of pages along, find the Legion Centurion, and then I've got to go past the Legion list through the Rites of War to find the Consularis list. Once we're at the other side here, we come into some just weird quirks in the rules. So take the Legion Sokar Stormbird here. It has an auxiliary vehicle bay. What the hell does that do? Well, again, not listed on the page, so we have to go hunting for it. Now, I know where it is, once more, but it still takes me a little bit of time to flick through to it. This is something I've rehearsed, and yet I'm still taking time to find it. So here you go, we find the auxiliary vehicle bay. We then look at the special rule, and it says, hey, you must be a vehicle and you must have 4 hull points. Key things about what it can transport is those 2 stipulations, 4 hull points or less and a vehicle. So I flick my way along. Here we get the Legion Storm Eagle, a gigantic flyer, and yet look at its rules. It's a vehicle and has 4 hull points. So legally can transport it inside the Sokar Pattern Stormbird. Another problem here is Legion Javelins, so this is a problem across all land speeders, no bulkiness on the actual model. I don't know if anyone's checked recently, but they are bigger than a Space Marine with a jump pack who is bulky. And then it's got the cavalry rule, where's that? Well, you think core rules, right, in the main rulebook, but no. It's actually 50 pages away from the core rules in unit types. It's a completely separate section of the book. So you go, well, okay, what about this cavalry unit? What are its rules? How do I apply this? What if I want to, say, put that inside a transport? Can I do that? Because, hey, it counts as one model, right? Because it's got no bulky. Well, actually, you then have to go to another section, which is in transport capacity here. So we go over to transport capacity, and as we scroll through, we find out, oh, hang on a minute, you can't transport cavalry inside a vehicle. Why am I going through 2 books in so many pages? So, coming out the other side here, let's look at the index. The index is terrible. On the right there on top is the 6th edition rulebook. Have a look at how small that font was in there, and compare that to this index. How can an edition which has more special rules by far than a rulebook released 10 years ago have such a lazy contents section? This is part of the problem of why you can't find anything. They compartmentalize the wrong things. Special rules are just listed as, hey, all the special rules are in this area. But it doesn't tell you exactly what ones are where, and you can spend ages trying to find one, versus in previous books where you could just go directly to it. As an example here, when you go into the Legion list in Book 1, the old 1.0 book, it tells you, here is the overall sections for Legions or for units. In 2.0, it gives you the rundown on every single specific unit. I don't need to look, for example, of where Night Raptors are for the Night Lords. I know it's going to be in the Night Lords section, just tell me it's there. Give me all the special rules on their own page. Then you've got Super Heavies here. Look at this, 4 pages all in a row on Super Heavies. Everything you need to know in Book 1. Cut across to Book 2, or Book 2.0 I should say, and here we have 3 books to find out less than the same amount of information. Then we have the Legion layout. This is the one area where it's not too bad. They're roughly about the same in version 1.0 and 2.0. You go through Legion traits, you've got Rites of War, War Gear, all that kind of thing. Then you go through the Primarch, and then you finish off with special characters and a little bit of art for flavour. I don't mind it, it's nice. In the 1.0 section, obviously, you had something similar, where you went through your models and your Legion rules, and then, of course, you went to Primarchs and special characters. All good and well. But overall, what I'm trying to demonstrate here is The book is a confusing mess, and this is the edition as a whole, and what I put it down to is, at a guess, and I can't know this for certain, I think what happened was they were writing 2.0 and they settled on the basic rulebook. And then they said, you know what, let's just get this to the printers, and any rules we miss, we'll just put them into the Legion book. And that's what happened. And that's why you have rules that are in one book but not the other, or the rules are actually all over the shop where you're going from one book to another to find out something very basic about your unit. That is really problematic, because if you're going to have such a huge Legion specific book and you're going to repeat the same Legion army list, I think it's not a very good thing. What would have been better for the customer here, not necessarily for the company, but for the customer, would have been if the Legionis Astartes books had the army list torn out of them and sold separately. It would be better for us because you could buy the rulebook, buy, whether you like Loyalists or Traitors, their book, and then buy the Legion list separate. Instead, you've paid for 2 books with the Legion list repeated twice in there. And all the little information and the little tips and quirks you need to know is not, especially the Universal Special Rules. And 1.0 didn't include all the Universal Special Rules, no. But all the rules of consequence to the units in the book were included in the book, unless they were Universal Special Rules that were not unique to the unit, they were there for everyone. And in which case, there was an excellent glossary or table of contents provided in the 6th edition and 7th edition Warhammer 40,000 rulebooks, and then the Horus Heresy Age of Darkness rulebook that came after, where you were able to go, this is the particular rule I want, and look it up by name in the back of the book. You cannot do this with Horus Heresy 2.0 because many of the rules you're chasing are not listed in the main rulebook, and they're often found inside the Liber Astartes or the Hereticus, and then when you go to find them, they're not listed in the table of contents. Every single unit for every single legion is listed in there, which is superfluous information. You don't need to know where to look for Red Butchers. You know they're probably going to be in the World Eaters section, so you don't need to know the exact page they are. You just need to know where the World Eaters are located. But if you have a rule like the Reaping Blow, for example, on Death Shroud Power Sides, you need to know that it's actually in the Special Rules section located in the Liber Hereticus, between the Legion Consularis and the Legion Ranged War Gear. Very specific spot and not listed by glossary. So that's the big problem with 2.0. It is horrible in that regard. If I was to fix it, it's actually quite simple. You lay out the book so that, like 1.0, you go Rites of War straight after the HQ Praetor. You then go the Consularis straight after the Legion Centurion. You should probably start the book with all the unit types and special rules. Makes sense to have them right there. And then you finish the book, the very last thing in the entire book should be a list of all the war gear, so you have a quick reference chart right at the back of it, rather than having to flick to the very middle of the book and locate where it is. You also shouldn't break up these sections with other various stuff shoved in the middle between important bits of information. So all the war gear at the back, all the special rules and unit types at the front, and then the meat in the middle should be the Legion list, and then straight after the Legion list, straight into the Legions themselves. That is how the correct layout should be for the book. Anyway, that's it from me. Mac with the Outer Circle. Hope you all found this interesting in some way, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.